After buckling little Christine in her car seat, she turned toward the front of the car and was shocked, speechless, when Jay spoke to her for the first time. Miss Jones, thank you for the breakfast, and thank you for opening your home to us. We know you didn't have to take us, and we promise to try not to give you any problems. Denise stood, looking at Jay as tears filled her eyes and slowly rolled down her cheeks. She had heard what these children had gone through, but could never in a million years imagine how they felt. And her heart just filled up and overflowed with love for them. Sweetheart, you are so welcome. And I can't tell you how easy it was for me to open my heart and my home to you. I know we are going to get along just fine. I know you might think it's too early for me to say this, but I mean it from the very depths of my heart. I love you, children. She walked over to Jay and gave him a long hug and was surprised to see tears shimmer in his young eyes that he fought not to let fall. She walked over to Mimi and did the same and then gave little Christine a kiss on the cheek before walking toward the front of the car while wiping tears of joy from her face. Okay, folks, everybody get in and buckle up because we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, she said with a smile on her face and joy in her heart. Once they were in the car, Denise called the house to check on the kids and let them know they were on their way home. Because it was only 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, she knew Matt would be answering the phone. After telling him they should be home around 6 o'clock that evening, she turned and flashed a big smile at the occupants in the back seat and put the car in gear. Chapter 6. Welcome Home. The day Denise and the kids set out to come home, Matthew knocked feebly on the door to his sister's bedroom with the intention of burying the hatchet and making peace. Not knowing what he wanted, the girls were incredulous that he would have the nerve to knock on their door for any reason short of alerting them that the house was on fire. But he insisted on speaking to them in spite of their threats and very, very verbal objections. Come on, open the door. I need to talk to you about Mom, he said with exasperation. Get away from my door, Matt. We don't want to hear nothing from you because we know it's just a trick, so don't even try it, said Ned, remembering the trick her brother had pulled on them in front of Rife and getting angry all over again. Look, this isn't about us. It's about Mom. And I think you two have been mad long enough and need to get over it. So I got you back. So what? It's not like you never did anything to me before. And if I had to get over it, so do you. So grow up and let it go already. We never did anything to you in front of anybody, Matt, and you know it, yelled Vet. Okay, so what do you want? I told you I was sorry. We want you to leave us alone. That's what we want, said a defiant Ned, refusing to give in to the reconciliatory atmosphere he was attempting to create. Knowing it was time to bring their feud to an end, Matt decided to bite the bullet and take control. Taking a deep breath, he closed his eyes and opened the door to the girls' room while telling them they had better cover up because he was coming in. I know you didn't just walk into my room. I know you didn't just do that, said Vet with a shocked look on her face while slowly rising from her bed where she was sitting and putting on her sneakers. Matt, suppose I wasn't dressed and you just walked in here. You can't just walk into your room without knocking, so get out, said Ned while advancing on her brother with the intention of hitting him with the shoe she had in her hand. Hold it. I did knock on the door, but you wouldn't listen to me, and I keep telling you I have to talk to you about Mom, he said angrily. He refused to back down from the girls, knowing he was technically wrong for walking into their room uninvited, but determined to let them know he was not leaving without speaking to them. For a minute, there was an awkward moment where everyone just stood and stared at each other without saying a word, each waiting for the other to make the next move. Sensing that this had to be very important, or he never would have made such a bold move as barging into their room and then refusing to leave, Vet decided to break the silence and call a truce to get to the bottom of what their problem was. Okay, Maddie, what is it? Okay, first of all, I want to say it again. I'm sorry. Second, we need to get along with each other for mom's sake because she's going to need help with these new kids. Maddie, we know she's going to need our help. She already talked to us about the kids. So why are you talking to us like we don't know what we have to do? Asked Ned, getting more annoyed by the minute. I know she talked to you, but she got that last minute call and she didn't have time to get things ready, you know, like get the spare room ready and all. So I think we need to get the room ready for the kids so she won't have to worry about rearranging the room after the kids get here, so things can go smooth for her and them. How are we going to rearrange things when we don't know what she wanted to do and where she wanted them to sleep? Asked Vet, beginning to warm up to the idea of helping her mother, but unsure of what she would do. Well, we know she wasn't going to put them in her room, and the boy will probably be in my room. Not that I'm going to like it, but I can't do anything about it. So that only leaves her study being moved to the basement and the girls in the room next to hers. I guess you're right. But what can we do with no money? Now that's where I come in. I'll take some of my money out of the bank and use it to get a couple of beds. And I was hoping you two would use some of your money to add a few little touches here and there. And I'm sure Mom will give it back to us. And it would help her out so much, he said, feeling so proud of himself. I'm not taking any of my money out of the bank, and I'm not helping nobody do nothing to no room, so just count me out, said a defiant Ned as she stalked out of her room and slammed the door as she went into the bathroom. Ignore her. She won't ever get used to sharing Mom with anybody but us, and nothing we say is going to change that. I know she's used to being a baby, but you would think she'd grow up for Mom's sake at least. Enough talk about her. Come on, let's get started on the room. Mom said she'd be home tonight, and we have a lot of work to do. They went upstairs to their mother's study and started looking around the room, trying to figure out just where to begin. They decided to start with the bookcase and the file cabinets, moving them to the basement, along with the chaise lounge and the many plants their mother had placed around the room. Their mother loved her greenery, but with her hectic schedule, she complained that she never had time to care for the plants. So she bought lots of imitation plants, and you couldn't tell they weren't real. She was so proud of her plants and took pains to dust and wipe them clean at least twice a month. After about 3 hours, the room was empty except for their mother's computer, which they decided to take to her room since she spent too much time on it to be trekking to the basement every time she had to use it. After setting up the computer in their mother's room, the only thing left to do was decide whether to take the pictures down off the wall and put them in the basement or put them up in their mother's room. So they decided to leave them alone and let their mother decide what to do with them. Looking around the empty room, Maddie and Vet shook hands and smiled in spite of themselves, knowing their mother was going to be so happy with what they had done. Next, they went downstairs to get their bank cards to withdraw the money needed to purchase the beds, linen, lamps, throw rugs, and whatever else they would need to complete their good deed. Every time they went to the basement to carry their mother's things to their new room, Net got angrier and angrier. She was furious at them for making preparations for people they didn't even know. She hated that they weren't angry that these kids were invading their privacy. She was furious at them for making her feel like she was wrong for not wanting the kids there, regardless of their situation. And she was furious at them for making her feel guilty for not wanting to help, even for their mother's sake. She was just furious at them for every conceivable reason under the sun. Most of all, she was furious at herself for not giving in and helping them, knowing it would make their mother proud and happy. Why did she have to be so pig-headed and stubborn? And why does she not like these kids? She didn't have the answer to any of these questions, and she didn't know why she didn't just join in the renovation. She felt like too much had been said, and besides, they probably didn't want her help now anyway. She wished she could rewind the clock and do things differently, but she knew she would never apologize to them, and they weren't going to ask her again. So that was that. She sat in her room and sulked and listened to their thumping and their bumping and got more furious by the moment. Vet knew her sister was sorry not to be involved with the project, but was too pig-headed to say she was sorry or wrong and was tempted to ask her again. But Matt kept telling her not to waste her breath because they both knew she was a lost cause. Vet, you and I both know how she is, and you especially know when she says she isn't doing something, it's a done deal. Yeah, I know how she is, and I know she doesn't like changing her mind, but I also know how she shoots off her mouth and after wishes she hadn't. Vet, we've been doing so good. Let's not spoil a day with a lot of bickering and confusion because you know that is exactly what will happen if Big Mouth joins us. They had this conversation 3 times during the course of their renovation project, and each time Vet found herself more and more convinced she should go to her sister and ask her again to join them. When the last piece of furniture was taken to the basement and she and Matt were getting ready to go to the store to purchase the beds, she stopped in the middle of their mother's old study and felt a pang of disappointment that her sister wasn't there sharing this moment with her. Matt stood looking at his sister on his way downstairs and felt a stirring of dread in the pit of his stomach because he knew that look on Vet's face and he knew his moment of sharing his sister was over because she was feeling the pull of her twin that always overshadowed everything they did. He refused to let the disappointment that he was feeling show on his face because he knew how close they were, and quite frankly, he was surprised they hadn't given in to the sister's pull sooner. Truth be told, and he would never admit it to anyone, he had really enjoyed his time with his sister. Matt loved his sisters and wished there was something he could do to get closer to them, but they refused to let him or anyone penetrate their world. So he had decided to enjoy this opportunity to have Vet to himself, knowing it wasn't going to last forever and that it was just a matter of time that Vet would convince Nick to join them. And judging by the look on Vet's face, the time had come. Go get her, Vet. You know you won't be happy until you do, and she's probably just as miserable as you are. I'll be waiting for you out front. I was just about to tell you the same thing. Thanks, Matt, she said as she turned to run down the stairs to her sister. Net was pretending to read a book while listening to the rumbling of her sister and brother rearrange the house. When she heard her sister open the door, she turned the page to make it look like she was really reading. You can put the book down now. I know you're not really reading. You don't know anything. Are you all finished with the moving yet? Yes, Lord, and I am so glad. All that heavy work was wearing me out. Um, Nick, can I talk to you for a minute? About what? Look, forget about Maddie and that whole Rife thing, okay? This is about something more important than stupid Maddie. This is about Mommy. You know, when it comes to us, there is nothing more important in this world to her. So why would you let anything Maddie does or say stop you from helping her? She made a tough decision to take these kids in, and she needs our help. This is a way to make it easier for her, and she deserves it. Let's not be selfish and put more on her than she already has. And besides, can you imagine the look on her face when she comes home and sees what we've done? You don't want to be left out of all that, do you? Shut up preaching, Vet. I was going to come and help you when you went to get the furniture at the store. I just didn't feel like moving all that stuff downstairs, that's all. You mean you were only waiting until we did all the hard work? Yep, you lie like a rug. You were just being your usual pig-headed self, and you need to check yourself. Come on, Nettie. I want you to help me What do you say?